episode 12 coming at ya. Woo! Woo! Welcome, guys.
We're so cheesy.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah, I guess.
And you guys love it. We know it.
Yeah, they probably fast forward the first couple of seconds or I guess a minute of the Podsters intro because it's so lame.
Hey, the intro isn't lame. That's a fuzz-filled extravaganza.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty fun.
But it's old. It's almost 20 years old. It's about 20 years ago we recorded that.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Bella Kiss. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Time for a new one, maybe. What do you guys say?
I think so. I was thinking about that the other day.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
I'll come up with something. Maybe for next time or
Maybe
the time
I'll
after.
help you. Maybe we can put some lyrics together. I don't know.
We'll see. And you guys will just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about Borrowers, Plain Janes, Gibson, because you guys like our rock and roll segments. It's obvious, especially on SoundCloud.
And my exploration of the blues. Yes.
Oh, we're going to explore the blues with Michelle as well. Well, that's awesome. So it's going to be a fun-filled event. And now I'm going to try and let Penny out of the studio.
Penny found her way into the into the room, and she doesn't want to leave.
Okay.
She's been pretty silent.
Okay, you can stay. Or did you want to go see
I don't think
Brother?
she'll bother anybody.
You want to see Brother?
Okay. All right, so
Where to begin? Where do you want to begin?
let's just throw it out there. The Plain Jane theory. I don't know if anybody has a different kind of, I guess, phrase or word for it, but I've always noticed that there's always that one couple where the guy is super hot and the girl is like a little under average.
Rated on Michelle's
just to be
scientific
on the nice side,
system.
like somebody who just like, you know, they just put jeans and a t-shirt on, put their hair in a ponytail, no makeup, and that's it.
Plain Jane.
That's a plain Jane to me, you know. And that's cool if you are, if you can get away with doing that. That's not me. Anyways, so my theory is that these, and I'm not saying that all men do this or all hot men. There's just different personalities, particular personalities that attract to each other. But
we're not really delving into personalities in depth. We're superficial today.
Yeah, I guess it's a little superficial, but this was my thinking back in the day when I was single.
And still is.
I'm not single.
No, but it's still your theory. Duh.
Yeah, it's still my theory, and I kind of put it out there to Chris the other day, and I was just like, what do you think about this? You know, there's always that couple, the hot guy and the plain Jane.
And actually, though, there's Plain John as well.
Yeah, it can be reversed. But
we have to say that it's 2018 today, baby.
Oh God, whatever. Anyway, so, you know, it can be in whatever gendered relationship, heterosexual.
But the one you've really been investigating is the hot man with the plain Jane girl.
Yeah, and is it just me? I mean, I think that whenever a hot guy is with a plain Jane, it's his way of being an alpha male, or trying to be like the more dominant person in the relationship, as in, from what I've seen, it seems like they're the ones that are able to go out and party with their buddies, possibly have, a mistress on the side or something, and the plain Jane's home, raising their 3 kids and a dog kind of thing.
She's not doing a good job with the dog, by the way. She just leaves it in the backyard.
So I don't know if that's a common thing because I've seen it a lot. I've seen it like when people are dating, the guy's super hot and the girl's okay, and it's like she has to do whatever she has to do in order to keep this man, kind of thing.
Because he's so hot.
And the guy's like, you know, I have her under my finger, kind of thing.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, and she won't be defiant or anything like that.
I'm sure that that's true in some of those cases, maybe a lot of them. I mean, that's an easy way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a selfish narcissistic, you get someone to quote unquote share your life with, or not really share, but you know, you get
worship the ground you walk on, kind of thing.
I don't know if they worship it, but you get that whole the American dream, you know, wife, 3 kids, and a picket fence, and then because you're so hot and she's not, you can do whatever you want at the same time.
Yeah,
because she's gonna put up with it. That's probably true in some of those cases.
Yeah, it is.
And I think also in other cases, it may not be so much about going to the bars with the guys and have a mistress, but I think people today tend to be quite narcissistic.
True.
So I think it could also maybe be a way for, and this I think goes way more with plain John and Jane, more than, because I think that your plain Jane really applies to the man and woman relationship. I think if you look at,
I don't think I've ever really seen a plain John situation.
Oh, you can look around; they're out there. But I think with that, it's more a narcissistic thing that you make yourself look better that way because you're kind of handsome in the world and yourself know it. And since the other person is just average, or what did you say, below average, it makes you look so much better to the world than if you were just put there on your own.
True.
To add on to your plain Jane theory.
Yeah, that's a good add-on. I'll have to amend my theory.
And then of course, I think there's instances where it just happens because of the non-superficial, that the personalities match, they have common interest. Like, it's not a superficial thing at all. It just happens. But I think your theory is right, for sure. It's a good way to, quote-unquote, keep somebody under your thumb because you're so popular that that person should be grateful or something.
Some people do that with money, but this is my plain Jane theory.
Right, but money is that wouldn't fall under plain Jane per se. This is just the superficial thing. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. What do you guys think? Let us know. Wake up. Email us.
No kidding. I mean, I thought we were doing good. We're getting a lot of likes on SoundCloud, which is awesome.
Yeah, we're doing good, but you guys, you're still missing the point. The point is that we are interactive. We'll even put you on air if you want, but you gotta let us know what you think. Keep in touch. Our Facebook page. Comment on the actual episodes. Or if you don't want that to be seen in public, shoot us an email at thepodsters@gmail.com.
That's thepodsters@gmail.com.
Yes.
So, my bullshit of the week is, or should I say, are people who borrow things.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
I can't. Okay. No, I'm not going to say I can't. I dislike it when people ask to borrow things from me. If it's a pen or something or a piece of paper, fine, go ahead. You know, I don't expect it back. But if it's a pretty pen, if it's a fancy pen, I expect that pen back. I don't know. That's just me. I'm possessive, I guess. But then there's also cases where I've let people borrow things and it takes them forever to give it back.
If they even give you back.
No, but when they do give it back, the thing's fucking broken.
Yeah, all that
And they're
sucks.
like, oh, I'll replace it, but, you know, I'm kind of broke right now. You know what? Fuck it. It's my fault. Shame on me.
I was going to say, I
borrow
think
it.
the initial bullshit isn't even on people wanting to borrow things. It's all those people throughout the years that have borrowed things and either taken forever to return it. And when they do, it's broken or messed up.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, they simply borrow your thing and not give it back.
They won't give it. Yeah.
So
that,
after 100 years of that going on, just the plain "can I borrow" screams bullshit alert, because it does for me too.
Yeah,
many records, books, magazines.
I just hate the word or the phrase "can I borrow" or the question "can I borrow" your whatever, and I'm like,
you know, and the dumbest one, which isn't really so much calling bullshit on, but the one thing I hate when it comes to just the phrase is if you're somewhere and some retard comes up to you and asks, "Can I borrow a cigarette?" If I'm smoking a cigarette and you come to ask me for one, you obviously don't have one yourself.
right.
So how the fuck are you gonna be able to borrow it? You're not gonna give that back.
Are you gonna borrow it just so you can hold it and then give it back?
Right? That's
I don't get that.
That's just a stupid phrase, but I think it's also indicative of how people see what borrow is. If it's not a high dollar item, it kind of means that, hey, can I have it?
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people see it as.
And that's not borrowing. And then also, I don't give a crap if your kid thought that the DVD you borrowed from me was a Frisbee and they played with the dog. If that happens,
You gotta replace it.
you replace it. You don't give it back half eaten and scratched up. Yeah, that's a good bullshit.
It hasn't happened in a while because I really don't. Because of the past experiences, I
Right,
don't.
I was gonna say it hasn't happened in a couple of years now.
I don't.
Because
And
I just
even if
stopped
I-
borrowing
and then, like,
or lending
you know, there's
things
times
out.
where I feel like a bit generous, and I'm like, hey, you can borrow this book because I know you like.
Oh yeah, that was the
whatever.
last time you didn't get something back. Even though I gotta do a shout out to our neighbor who shall remain anonymous, who I don't know. I guess I must have had a really good day, and we thought we were gonna be super neighborly.
Yeah.
And he was trying to paint his fence with a roller, and that doesn't work. And I have an electric spray gun, so I actually asked him if he wanted to borrow it, which he happily did. And I kind of in hindsight went, well, I'll never see that, or if I do, it's gonna be full of brown
Yeah, it's
nasty
gonna
paint.
be gunky or something.
It took what? I mean, it took as long as he had to do his fence.
Yeah.
And however long it takes to really clean out something really good, and we got it back. That was awesome.
Oh,
It
yeah.
kind of made me a little bit, I guess I could let somebody borrow even a fancy pen, but that's it.
Yeah, I get kind of possessive of my things, and when I let people borrow things, I expect it back.
And
Unless I
in the
say later
condition-
on or something, I'll be like, oh, just keep it. You know, it's of
but
no
that's up to
value
you. That's you.
to me or whatever.
That's the same
But
thing if you buy somebody a little present and say, oh, here you go, here's a present.
yeah, for some
Then
reason,
you're giving it
anytime I've
away.
lent out books, I never get
Yeah,
them
books
back.
is a popular thing. And back in the day, when there was still real rock and roll recorded on records, like albums, not
Yeah.
even CDs before that, the vinyl stuff. That was another thing where, you know, you never got it back.
Yeah.
Books, and I want to say books and records. I've heard it a lot with DVDs and like VHSs when that was in place, but I didn't really collect them, so I didn't really lend any out.
Yeah. Well, I had a few DVDs that I lent out that I never got back. CDs,
Yeah.
same
Oh,
thing.
yeah, CDs, records.
That's so
books.
old of us.
But yeah, I mean, it sucks, guys. Come on. If you want to borrow something, give it back in the condition you got it.
Just make the world a better place. for
Yeah,
someone
it's
at
annoying.
least, if not you, somebody else. I mean, that's a kind deed for the
And
day.
I don't understand how people can, like, quote unquote, forget that they borrowed it.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot too. I'm
Me
like,
too.
are you
And
serious?
People act like, what? Did I borrow? Well, what do you do with the books you borrow? I mean, if you forget about it, do you just want to be social and like, oh, I want to get in,
And I
in
swear,
the
like
conversation
in
with
the
this?
past, I've like gone to people's houses and I've been like, "Where's that book that I let them borrow?"
Right. I've done
I'm
the
like
same
looking
thing.
around,
I had
checking
one
their little
notorious-
nooks and shelves and stuff for it, and I'm like, "Damn it, it's not here."
Yeah,
Where is
we
it?
had a notorious borrower in our circuit of friends where I actually found all my records. I was just like, so I'm just going to take this back since I'm here now.
Yeah. That's understandable if you can find it.
Yeah, right. But I mean,
my
yeah,
thing
I've been
is
looking too. But the thing, you shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
A book takes what? If you're caught up with other things. It takes what, 2 weeks maybe to read? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so after 3 weeks, return it. If you didn't read it, you didn't. But I just don't understand that whole. Are you building your library based on other people's stuff?
books? Oh, that would be an interesting project.
Right? Maybe that. Can we borrow you guys' books?
Yeah.
We'll give you an address to send them to, and we'll build a Podsters library.
Yeah, that would be cool. Send us your books.
Yeah, send us your
If
books.
you never want to see them again,
Yeah.
would they have to be something interesting or peculiar?
No. This is the Podsters. So whatever books you have that you think we should borrow, send them to us.
Yeah.
And we won't return them. We promise.
Exactly. And we'll build our Podster library.
Yeah. That'll be cool.
Interesting.
Whoever's up for it, let us know and we'll give you an address to send them.
Yep. Okay. So we were talking about your Gibson stuff the other day, right?
Okay. Yes, we were. But let me first point out, I have no affiliation with Gibson whatsoever. Yeah, we were. Some of you will know. Some of you who don't know are probably going to wonder, why are we talking about this? But trust me, even if you're not interested really in guitars and music, there's a big, serious point about this.
Yeah.
So, let's talk Gibson. Gibson is an American company, and it's been around for over 100 years. So I want everybody to
Wow.
put that in perspective first.
I didn't realize they've been around for 100 years.
Yeah, more than that. Is it 120 now, maybe? It's a long time. Basically,
Google it.
yeah, Google it. But to put it in perspective right now, the Gibson was around basically before the car, as we know it today, was invented. Before Henry Ford mass-produced even Model Ts.
Okay.
They've survived World War I, World War II.
Did they survive the Depression?
Yeah, they survived the Depression.
Wow.
Gibson has never been out of commission. But, what are they, say you that don't know? They are a guitar manufacturer. They are especially an electric guitar manufacturer. And basically, for those of you who aren't really into music that much, when you do think of an electric guitar, people tend to think of either the Fender Stratocaster, the kind of one that looks like it has horns, or the little more acoustic looking one, the round looking one.
Yeah.
And that is a Gibson Les Paul. They were the first ones to create a guitar like that. Today, there's rip-offs, of course, but they're iconic. They're legendary. And once upon a time, they really put out high-quality instruments. They're facing bankruptcy.
Oh, wow.
They have $150 million pretty much in bank loans that expire.
$150 million in bank loans?
Yeah, that'll expire
Oh my God.
in June or July. And on top of that, they have $350 million in bonds. And bonds is basically a loan, but not from the bank, from the people. It's basically when you go out and say, pretty much, especially to your shareholders, that, hey, if I can borrow this much money from you, I will give it back to you with some sort of interest at this given date. And companies do that a lot.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
nothing uncommon, but that's what a bond is. It's basically a loan but not from a bank, from shareholders or private investors. So they have $350 million of that expiring too.
Oh my God.
They don't have very much money in the bank.
Why?
Dumb business decisions, basically. They've spent.
Is that what you think is why they're going down, because of their dumb business decisions?
Yeah, I mean, it's all dumb business decisions. That they have basically. They're still manufacturing the Gibson part of Gibsons in the U.S., but over the years that they've been dropping their quality, raising their prices on their instruments to ludicrous levels. I think today, if you want to buy a 2018 standard model Les Paul, you're paying about $4,000.
Oh my God.
And to take their American competitor Fender, who also makes their instruments in the US, I think that a US made Fender is $1,200.
Okay.
So the difference between $4,000 and $1,200 is quite big.
Yeah, definitely.
And unfortunately, too, that they do things with everything from color choices to crazy inventions that nobody wants. Like they put millions of dollars into inventing a self-tuning guitar.
Okay.
And when they came out, nobody wanted it because it's battery operated, and they saw a hole in the body for the battery, and basically it was stuff that nobody wanted. And they also, their endorsers, they had them on like these test programs. So experienced musicians got to give their input, and when it came to that, everybody said, no, don't do that. Whereupon Gibson, who has a temperamental CEO, pretty much answered them with taking their endorsement away instead of listening to people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's all bad business decisions that driven them there. Another thing, too, a lot of other companies in the music world today, they have an online presence, as in they're active in, if there's a forum, because there is for everything, fans of whatever, Orange amplifiers. Orange is there communicating with people like, hey, what did you like about our product? What didn't you like? What can we do better?
I think a lot of companies do that, especially online.
Oh, yeah. Gibson doesn't, however.
Really?
Nope.
You know what it seems to me is that they're just trying to squeeze out as much money. Towards the end, I think this was their like Hail Mary kind of thing where they have to skip out on quality and start charging people more for lower quality items, and let's see how far we can get away with this.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me too, because unfortunately the guitar industry, since we've been talking about this a lot, how rock and roll is not dead, but it's certainly not as popular as it was 20-30 years ago.
Right.
Gibson, instead of doing what the companies that can survive this have been doing, which is thinking years ahead. We have these products. Maybe we shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. We're sticking with the products people want. We'll give them better quality for their money than what they should have, really. Gibson has gone into this whole looking at sales per quarter. We're going to maximize profit, which means that you have to sell more every quarter than the previous.
Yeah.
And in an
that's
industry,
typical practice.
Right, typical practice. And that's why I'm saying that you guys that aren't really into music might initially have gone, why should I care? Well, you should care, because chances are that the company you work for is basically doing the same thing as Gibson. They've stopped thinking ahead. What are we going to do when X amount of people retire? Are we going to just let them retire and keep a smaller workforce so we can get through this? How much is reasonable? How many guitars in this case, but if whatever you work with, how much lumber, how many screws, how many of hamburgers can we sell to people? Instead of looking at things that way, they've gone, no, we should just sell more every quarter. And to do it, we need to produce more. We need to lower our quality. And at that point, especially when you talk about high ticket items, even let's go $1,500 for a guitar. It's a lot of money for an average person.
Yeah. $4,000 is a lot of money for an average person.
Well, $4,000 is even more. But I mean, if I even had $4,000 to spend on something, I expect it to be immaculate.
Exactly.
I expect it to be able to be played out of the box. I don't want dings, cracks, or scratches in my surface. I don't want neck bow. I don't want strings that can't stay in tune. And crap like that. And they've been doing it just because of these quarterly things, and then the industry, the guitar industry, obviously has taken a bit of a hit because less people are playing instruments. There's new companies coming up that manufacture their products in Asia, which means that you can get a lot of quality in a product for less money.
Right.
There's a lot of factors that have made the sort of your piece of the industry, the piece of the pie gets smaller for you. And Gibson has refused to see that. They've just gone, burning ahead, saying that, when we were on top, we sold this many guitars per month. So next quarter, we're going to sell more. We're going to sell more. And yeah, I think that this whole thing with raising the prices tremendously, not caring about quality, is just trying to milk the last few dollars out of it they can.
Yeah, before they go bankrupt. Last week, they laid off, check this one out, guys. Like I said, this happens to all companies. Their custom shop in Nashville, they laid off 15 of their most experienced luthiers, which means that the people with the most knowledge and probably sort of possibility of saving the company were let go. That's crazy.
They don't work there anymore. So now you're going to get less quality for even more money for however long more. So chances are that we can say goodbye to Gibson come summer.
Wow, that's really sad.
It is sad. And I'm sure that people will say, well, we'll see the name on the headstock again. Yes, I'm sure that, because this happens a lot of times with companies in especially guitars, that they, for one reason or another, they cease to exist. But the product they had was quote unquote cool. There's a demand to see that name on your headstock on a guitar.
Yeah.
So somebody buys the name later on and starts manufacturing the instruments.
Oh, I see.
So, in a sense, yeah, you're going to be able to see Gibson on a headstock in 5 years if they fold. But believe you me, those guitars will be manufactured overseas. There won't be the company Gibson as we know it.
That's just so sad that they have to send everything overseas.
Well, you don't have to, but if you want to maximize profit.
But with Trump's, oh my gosh, what did he do?
Well, his tax cuts and job acts?
Yeah. I totally blanked. With his tax cuts for businesses that bring their companies back to the U.S., will prevent stuff like this happening again?
I don't think it'll prevent it from happening. As long as the companies themselves act like idiots, they will fold. I think that if you have a prestigious name behind your company, that name can be used again. Or I think in certain cases, if a company that isn't of this kind of magnitude goes and folds, the employees and people might be able, it'll be easier for them to find a new job doing the same thing, because somebody will buy the concept of, we're going to sell these hamburgers, even if it's not called Burger King or whatever. Let's call it King Burger now or something. Mm-hmm. I think that'll be easier. And I mean, if we're lucky, somebody who revives the Gibson name is actually a small independent company somewhere in the US that decides to make high-end guitars for maybe $4,000 again, but actually give people exclusivity and quality back.
Right.
But as a company that has functioned for over 100 years, it's kind of sad that the reason they're going out of business is bad business decisions. And a CEO, which also is common, that I don't know what planet he's from. The latest thing he did this week too was he's basically blaming the music stores.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, he's basically blaming the music stores. They're not conducting their business right. Hence, it's their fault that Gibson is going out of business. What he doesn't tell people with doing that, because of course he's out, I think he's kind of a Trump buddy.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Because I know they got away with a bunch of weird stuff when it comes to wood that we're not going to get into tonight. But basically... the shops that sell Gibson are they're Gibson's customers, because they don't work like however other companies do, where they send their product out and whatever you sell, you make money for both ones, and then you can send it back or do whatever. When it comes to Gibson, the retailers have to buy the instruments they're gonna sell. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you go and buy it from a guitar store, you're the end customer. But actually, as far as to Gibson, these mom and pop shops and even Guitar Center, the big chains, are actually a direct customer to Gibson. They had to fork out. If they're buying 20 guitars, they have to pay for it up front before Gibson even ships them out to them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Gibson has a CEO that calls them idiots. And that's always good to tell
tell your customers they're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. And I mean, he's just living in the past. And he made so many fun quotes, because he also claimed that today, especially mom and pop's business, guitar stores, they were located in the pornographic districts of the cities. And I go like,
what?
Is there really?
What city?
That's what I want to know. I thought people did porn online today. I didn't think there was any like red light districts anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And way back when I know there was, like in Amsterdam and stuff, so 20, 30 years ago, there were no guitar shops there, trust me. So, I mean, he's just out of his mind, and he's accusing his customers of being the downfall of his company, when he's the one that's invested millions of dollars in not listening to the customers, to not have an online presence. This year, they didn't go to NAMM, which we mentioned. But what was funny, a couple of weeks after NAMM, they reached out...
Wait a minute. What's NAMM again?
The National Music Association. It's like a big trade show for music in Los Angeles. And this year, they didn't attend, which started rumors about how good they were actually doing.
Oh, wow.
But what's funny is that it's taken them 120 years or something to reach out now to some of the famous YouTubers doing music stuff, asking them, just open question, asking them if they would be interested in collaborating with Gibson.
They're that desperate.
They're that desperate now. But it took them long enough. And still, the ones that have been asked, they have all responded to Gibson saying, sure, yes, I am. They haven't heard anything back, though, on what this quote-unquote collaboration is about.
Huh, that's weird.
So, yeah, it's weird. It's tragic. It's sad.
It is.
Some people, of course, say that, no, they can recover. But I think we should all just... play a sad blues tribute to Gibson.
Play the taps for Gibson.
Yep, play the taps, because I think they're gone. Rest in peace, Gibson. And speaking of playing the blues...
Oh, yeah.
You had a research project.
I was inspired. Again, well, actually, I'm
the little scientist.
Well, I wanted to do a little bit of research on blues.
Uh-huh.
Because I really don't know a lot of the names of the blues artists. And I was trying to figure out what type of blues I like. Or I wasn't necessarily trying to figure out what type of blues I like. I stumbled upon British blues.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I really like this. You know, the British blues added a lot to what the blues was here, or how it started here in the U.S.
Yeah, which is really the home country for the blues. The birthplace of the blues is definitely the U.S. Yes.
And like there was a basic sound, you know, there was like either, of course, the guitar and a harmonica, maybe some thumping of some drums. If you got them. But it was very simple. Even the way they sang, their sound wasn't like produced, like overly produced. as to what we listen to today. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, but I think back then they pretty much had a recording studio very similar to ours.
Yeah.
But obviously less technological, but still a couple of microphones, and then they put these blues artists in there and just do your thing.
And I mean, they really had, you know, a good concept with their blues and everything, but the Brits added more to the blues with, I guess you could say, the electrical guitar, adding synthesizers, organs,
and a little bit more of arrangement, I would say too.
More of an arrangement,
more structure and arrangement in how to both build a song and how to perform it. Yeah,
but I have to say that I do like the British blues sound. It's
different.
Yeah, it's not something you hear every day. That's for sure.
No, and even with the blues, the little blues, I think that is around today. Once again, when we say little about things, you guys that love music, we're talking mainstream. We know that we're music lovers. We know that there's a surge of underground music genres bubbling everywhere, but so when we say, oh, the little you hear, we mean what you might catch on radio or TV.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely a different sound. But you know, it's kind of interesting too that amplifiers and everything are voiced differently in Britain. And to go back to where, because I would say you probably started investigating from the 60s onwards in terms of British blues.
Yeah.
So that's around the time too where companies on both sides of the pond started building amplifiers more than just, we need to amplify the sound. They started figuring things out. How can we make them louder? How can we make them sound distorted? For a while there, you only had an amplifier, and if you wanted that distorted sound, you needed to get a fuzz box. Now they started coming up with how can we make that.
You said fuzz box.
I did. They started like putting more thought into the equipment, and it's kind of funny too because the British voicing of speakers and amplifiers is different than the American companies.
Huh, that's interesting.
So you definitely get a different sound. Especially back then today you can buy a Fender, which is a US made amplifier in Europe, and you can buy an Orange or a Marshall in the States. I think back then it was a stricter line. You bought where you lived kind of thing because it was still a smaller market. So you got a different kind of voicing to things too. And Brits are definitely a little bit more distorted, a little bit more mid-range and high-end. Whereas the US made stuff has a little bit more bottom end. The British stuff tends to get a little bit nasal and fizzy, really, if you crank it up. The American sound is still, I guess you could call it rounder.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, I like both kind of sounds. My preference is British, though. When I play the guitar, I like that you break through the mix. It might sound bad if you're playing just on your own. But if you're in a band situation, when you do a lead and you have that fizzy top end from a British voice thing, it cuts through the mix.
Yeah. So if you have any recommendations on good blues music, or somebody who's a beginner who wants to give a beginner some advice as far as blues music goes, let me know.
Yeah, and also let us know
who your favorite blues artists are.
Yeah, and also let us know underground current blues artists you guys think we should check out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That'd be really cool.
And on that note,
we'll bid you adieu.
Yes, have a good
week,
guys.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.